Storm here, bringing you guys another First Descendant build guide. And today we've got our girl Viessa, who is so nice in everything. Ice, ice, baby. Here we are, bringing her into the game. She's always been great, but the Arche Tuning tree has just really helped her step up a notch. I actually used this build, the first one I'm going to show you, and got myself a 99 on the Void Erosion leaderboard. Yes, I want to do better, but this was my push, and I thought it was super fun to get on the leaderboard and show you guys the build I used to get there. So let's talk about what modules we're going to use, what guns I'm going to have on Viessa that are mostly stat 6 but are super helpful during a few key moments of the Void Erosion. Then we're going to talk about the Reactor, external components, Inversion Reinforcement, and I have 2 Arche Tuning trees for you. Depending on which loadout of my modules you use is going to depend on what Arche board you decide to pick. So pay attention to that. I'll explain as I'm going over them. Let's go ahead and hop into Viessa's modules and talk about what we're going to be using for that first one. So my first one, I call it Absolute Zero because that is the mod we're using. Absolute Zero is going to change your passive so that whenever you get a critical hit, every 1.9 seconds is when mine is going to activate. After that critical is the cooldown on it. It's just going to send an Ice Spear, which actually does pretty decent damage. But the more important thing about this is it turns all of your skills to singular, which makes it so easy to do massive damage with one reactor for all of her abilities. The first ability is the same. It's going to shoot that ice shard. The second one is going to give you those frost roads, which makes you move faster and just freezes everything around you that you're touching. The third and the fourth ability are our money makers of this build. So this one, that cold snap, is just going to flush ice in front of you, smashing everything in its path with massive damage. And then our blizzard is what we put on the ground, as close to the center of a mob as we can, so we can just get them with it all at once. So the first thing we're going to talk about here is Viessa's cooldowns. Her cooldowns are so important for this build because you're trying to spam your abilities as much as you can. So I took both cooldown, Nimble Fingers, and MP Conversion, as well as the Focus on Chill and Focus on Singular to get the maximum amount of cooldown I can get out of modules. Then I brought myself all 4 crit mods, so frontline and emergency measures, which are inverse of just crit rate and crit damage with each other. Skill Insight to really up my crit rate, and then that skill concentration to give me so much skill critical hit damage. Then we always have to have a little bit of extra health because we are pushing through those void 30s and those enemies hit like a truck. So you want to have some survivability built into this. If you were to take off that HP, I'd recommend Hyperfocus, which translates us into our next build here, the Absolute Hero, baby. So all I changed on this build was I got rid of a little bit of crit chance that I can get from the Arche Tuning board, which will get me up to a 96% crit hit rate. So your crit rate is still super high. This one with Hyperfocus, you're going to try to go back and forth between critical hits with your guns and with your skills. So oftentimes you're going to be critting a little bit more first with your skills just because of the way it works and to crowd control them. So your guns are going to do massive damage. This is super helpful for the Void 30 boss at the end. This does melt him faster than the Absolute Zero build alone does because you can have that dagger critting, your skills are critting. You just work it in back and forth and use it to your advantage. Then my next build here, this one is the one I primarily use for mobbing. I call it the Frostnado because I have the chance to have up to 2 tornadoes out at once because I have all that cooldown built in. I do skill expansion and amplification control to just have my tornadoes as wide as they can. But the amplification control is taking out a crit mod. So you are doing less damage. However, because this build is meant for mobbing, I think that you are still going to just crush everything super fast. In fact, I can show you right here. In the Sigma sector, I have my blizzards out. They're crushing everything. I'm moving through super fast. I actually did this run in under 3 minutes all by myself because her blizzards cover so much range, that frost in front covers so much range. And even her frost shard, when it hits, it just explodes everyone around. So it is so fantastic and so fun to use. while you are mobbing. Let's go take a look at the rest of the build here. So we're going to look at her guns next. So this is what I recommend for the Clairvoyance. I primarily use it as a stat stick. So I've got 3 sprint speed so I can move through those dungeons super fast. On the standard rolls, I got firearm attack, bonus damage to the Legion of Darkness, that chill attack, and the firearm critical damage. If you're using the Hyperfocus, that critical hit rate also will benefit you a lot as well. Then for my last dagger, we've got the chill on this one. Then I do double fire rate, or I wouldn't mind switching one of the fire rates out for rounds per magazine, but it still works really great on this one. But that rounds per magazine does give you more consistent damage, especially if you're not used to hitting that single shot that the last dagger does, because it kind of just snaps out there at the end like this one. Boom! It is the finisher for the boss at the end, which was such a fun moment for me. But on the lower stats for this one, you're looking for that firearm attack, damage to darkness, critical damage, and that chill attack. Let's go ahead and take a look at the modules for my Clairvoyance. If you want to screenshot this, go right ahead. I will do another build on this later on. One thing you really want to note for the Clairvoyance is you don't want to have fire rate up like we do on every other gun in the game. That makes it so you are burning through your ammo faster, which doesn't allow you to hang out at that level 3 debuff as long. So keep that in mind. This is why I recommend that build, as well as those insight, especially if you're using that Hyperfocus. You want to have as much crit chance as you can. Then let's go ahead and take a look at our dagger. So this is the one I love to use for the Void Erosion, just because that overwhelm is going to help you do more affinity damage on those enemies. You got some chill. That firing Viessa just makes it so when you reload, the dagger has a small clip, but a fast fire rate is going to allow you to just maximize for 3 seconds on that dagger. Then right here, we're going to go talk about the Inversion Reinforcement. So as I talked about before, this build is all about that cooldown. So I took that Arche Circulation tactic right here for the extra cooldown. Then I took chill rounds. This is primarily going to be coming handy at the boss battle at the end. He is the slowest to kill for Viessa because everything else just melts like butter in front of her face. So it is super helpful. It is primarily for that, but it is worth it, in my opinion, to take that. Then right here, you want that selective neurostimulation. So you get those random bumps of MP just in case your RNG isn't serving you and you aren't getting those orbs like you desire. So I think this one is super helpful to go with. You could always take more survivability or speed if you didn't love that, but this is what I'm going to recommend. So here we are. Then for the reactor, you're going to go that chill singular because all your abilities are singular, which is amazing. It makes it so you can be casting any of those abilities for max damage. For the external components, pay close attention because this is so important. Max HP and fire resistance. Void 30 does have fire damage hitting you all the time, so keeping that fire res is going to massively improve your ability to stay alive. I did have that MP recovery out of combat, so I'd get more MP between fights, but that was such a small amount of time that it didn't feel worth it to me if I even got out of combat for that amount of time. Then on the next one, Slayer Sensor is so important to have these 2 roles. It's max MP and MP recovery in combat. If you can't max it out because you don't have the materials, prioritize that max MP as the most important thing. Then on the memory, I picked MP recovery just so you're getting all that MP back. You are spamming your abilities so often, you are going to want to have that available. On the Void 30, I do take defense as my secondary, but if I'm farming mobs and dungeons, I do put gold on there as we are always farming for that gold, and that is a good way to add that additional gold to your arsenal. Then over here for that Slayer processor, I use max shield, which again helps a little bit with that survivability. You could take that shield recovery instead of the equipment drop rate, but I just like to get all that extra equipment. I think it applies to core, so that's why I have it. I'm not sure. If anyone knows, please let me know in the comments though, because I would love to know that officially or unofficially, whatever it is. If you know, let me know. Then let's talk about our Arche Tuning. So right here on the skill cooldown right here, this is if you're taking that absolute 0 one that I showed you at the beginning, where I have all 4 crit mods. Because you have all 4 crit mods on that one, you don't need to take the extra crit rate over here. So I put that into more MP recovery and a little bit of extra health, which really helps your survivability. Again, this is the one that I used on my Void 30 when I got that 99 on the leaderboard, which all the times are pretty close. I mean, First is quite a bit higher than me, but it's still fun to get and just fun to use. This one is my favorite, but if you're using one of the other builds, like the Tornado build for mobbing or the Hyperfocus, you are losing a little bit of that crit rate by taking emergency measures off. So I built this one for you so you could grab that extra crit rate right here. This is going to get the absolute hero build I showed you up to a 96% hit rate, and it is going to get that Tornado build up to an 86% crit rate. So both really high crit, both are fantastic, really gonna help you just have so much fun with Viessa. All right, you guys, I hope that this build is gonna serve you well. I hope it's super fun. If you wanna check out a little bit more gameplay of Viessa crushing it, I'm gonna post just a little bit afterwards, just some highlights from my battles in the Void 30 and in that Sigma sector. So hit me up in the comments, you guys. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. There are a lot of you that are watching that I know might not be subscribed yet. Either way, I do appreciate your support. Another thing I have to say, I love that some of you have called me the dashing daddy because of my Keelan video while I'm like farming Sigma sector, or that you've noticed me in Albion with my bright pink colors. It has been so fun to get the messages from you, and I love it. So if you see me in Albion, say hi, join my Discord, check me out on the socials. I would love to connect with you. Until next time, you guys, slay away. Have a great day. I will see you in the next video. Bye.